Hi, this is Sue Jackson of the Book by Book blog, and I'm here today with a very special video to celebrate my milestone of hitting 1,000 subscribers. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed. And I put out a request for questions about me and anything about my life a while ago. Sorry it took me so long to get to this. It's been a rough summer. But here I am with the answers. So what I did get a lot of really good questions and some really creative and thought-provoking questions. So I've divided them up into categories. So this is part one. These are general questions that were not directly related to books or chronic illness. So you'll see these questions. I have a lot of very creative subscribers. These questions cover all sorts of interesting things: travel, my love of the outdoors, where I've lived. There's a lot of fun stuff here, so I hope you'll enjoy it. Question one comes from Kat of Kat's Novel Adventures. She asked me, besides reading, writing, and camping, do you have any other interests or hobbies? First, I wanted to clarify, writing's not really a hobby for me. Admittedly, I don't earn a whole lot of money from it, but it has been my career since 24 years ago. So I see that more as my job. Obviously, it is an interest, but so I'm somewhat limited because of my chronic illness, quite limited in energy, and also time because I need to spend a lot of time resting. So Kat kind of covered it. Reading and camping are two of my biggest interests, hobbies. Along with that, really any kind of outdoor activities. My family and I just love being outdoors. So besides camping, when I'm at my best, I can manage some short hikes. Let me show you my shirt. I think this is illuminating. Yeah. So we also love kayaking, which is pretty low energy. It works really well for me. And travel, which again kind of just feeds right into that. Sometimes we go camping locally, but most of the time we travel, and I love to explore new places. Question two, Melinda at A Web of Stories asks, what is your favorite hot beverage of choice? Melinda noted that because she has known me for decades, virtually, we were blogging friends before either of us joined YouTube. She said she already knows a lot about me. So this is something she didn't know. So again, because of my chronic illness, I'm a little limited. I can't have sugar, caffeine, or alcohol. So usually my mug has water in it right now, and I drink water all day long. I have recently discovered sugar-free seltzers, but Melinda asked about hot beverages. So I love herbal teas. And my favorite herbal teas are the Celestial Seasonings Zingers. And I'm kind of a creature of habit. I have raspberry zinger in the evening. I have lemon zinger on colder days in the afternoon. It's a good, after my nap, it's a good perk up flavor. And I love tangerine orange zinger in the mornings. Kind of miss my orange juice habit that I had for most of my life. So this is really nice in the mornings. So Melinda, that's what I usually drink. On weekends, I get pretty wild. And I treat myself to a cup of decaf coffee. I do like a really rich dark roast. I love the flavor of coffee, just can't handle the caffeine. So on weekends, I'll have a single cup of decaf. I also can't have dairy, so I'll use, this is a great product, Nut Pods Almond and Coconut Creamer. It's, you know, all natural, no dairy, and tastes like cream. So that's my special weekend treat. Okay, question three, also from Melinda. What is your favorite place to camp? Well, you stumped me with this one, Melinda. This is really hard for me to answer because Like I said, one of our favorite things about camping and traveling is exploring new places and going new places. So, yeah, I have so many favorites. Generally, if I can find a campsite actually on the water, I am happy as a clam. I love being near the water, any water, a lake, a creek, a stream, doesn't matter, a river. Yeah, I love being near the water. Acadia National Park's one of my favorite places to go, and the Blackwoods campground there is very nice. We've been there many times on our own when we were younger and with our kids. Love Acadia. It's just such a beautiful place. Locally, my favorite waterfront site is in Elk Neck State Park in Maryland. It's about a 45-minute drive from where we live in Delaware. Delaware's a really small state. And it's right on the Chesapeake Bay. It's actually on, the Elk and Susquehanna rivers, or it might be the Miles River. There's a bunch of rivers right there that feed into the Chesapeake. But this state park is out on a peninsula, so you're right on the water. And our favorite site, you can see the water from the site. I would say our best waterfront site ever. It was a bad time. My dad had just died, just died. It was my 50th birthday. My dad had just died the week before, so it was really grieving. But we happened to have a camping trip planned that week that we went on to the Adirondacks. And we were in this, it really helped. We were in this beautiful waterfront site at Rollins Pond. It's in the Adirondacks. It's kind of a strange state park because you have to drive through another state park, Fish Creek, in order to get to Rollins Pond. But it's long and skinny, so almost every site is on the water. Our site was extremely hard to get into. We laugh about it now, but it was next to a big hill. You had to go around a corner backing up. You had to go between the trees. But once we got our campers situated, it was the most beautiful, peaceful place. And we were able to have our kayaks right there and launch them right from our campsite. And finally, probably the best wooded mountainous campsite we've ever had was up in northern New Mexico. One of our best road trips. I think all of us, that's in our top road trips of all time. We used to take a 3-week long camping road trip every summer with our sons. Northern New Mexico was beautiful. This was in Yemas Falls National Forest, north of Albuquerque and Santa Fe, which we also enjoyed. But it was up there in the mountains. We had this enormous campsite. There was hardly anyone else in the campground. And these gorgeous tall pines. It was in the mountains, so it was cool and comfortable. Just beautiful. So thank you, Melinda, for taking me down memory lane. That was a tough question. Question 4 is from Debbie, a frequent commenter on my channel. Thank you, Debbie. Have you always lived in Delaware? If not, where else have you lived and what did you like most or least about each place? So no, I am not from Delaware. In fact, for both my husband and I, it kind of blows our minds that our kids are from Delaware, that they were born here and spent their whole lives here. because that wasn't true for either of us. I grew up in Rochester, New York, right along Lake Ontario. My house wasn't on the lake, but Rochester is right on the lake, just east of Buffalo, so far western New York State. Toronto is directly across the lake. Niagara Falls and Buffalo are about an hour away. So that's where I grew up. So great location. I still to this day absolutely love the natural world of New York State. It's so beautiful there. The Finger Lakes were close by. There are glens and waterfalls, Lake Ontario. It's a beautiful, beautiful state. And then, of course, to the east, you've got the Adirondacks and the Catskills. So love New York State still. That was the positive. The downside was the weather. Rochester is not known for good weather. It does get lake effect snow, and especially when I was a kid, although sometimes they still do, just really heavy snowfalls. The biggest, anyone from Western New York will remember the blizzard of 76, 77. That winter, it took a lot to close schools up there because they were used to the snow. Lots of plows, you know. I couldn't believe when my kids were going to school here in Delaware, you know, if there was even the threat of a couple of inches, they'd close school. Yeah, not in Rochester. You could get 18 inches overnight and, you know, you'd put on your snowsuit and your boots and walk out to the bus stop in the morning. So yeah, a lot of snow in the winter, but also at the time, Rochester was the second cloudiest city in the nation, behind Seattle. I looked recently, it is still in the top 10. Just its location there on the lake, very cloudy. I went to college in Potsdam, New York at Clarkson University. This is way up north of the Adirondacks, near the Canadian border. We were much closer to Ottawa than we were to any American cities. It's about 3 hours north of Syracuse. So as much as I loved my college years, again, the weather, it was extremely cold up there. And after college, I spent about a month back home in Rochester. And then talk about opposite ends of the spectrum. My first job was just outside of New Orleans. So I moved to New Orleans in 1987. That's where I met my husband. I went from Potsdam, New York to New Orleans, Louisiana. It was quite an adjustment. And I moved there at the end of June, right as summer was really getting underway. So yeah, the weather was tough in New Orleans, but we loved everything else about it. As I said, it's where my husband and I met, so, you know, special place in our hearts. It's also where we met many of our closest lifetime friends. So, and it's an amazing city. We love to go back and visit. So, and then in 1990, I got transferred to Delaware. We had just gotten married, so my husband kind of came along for the ride. We moved to Delaware thinking we would stay here for 2 years. It was DuPont's headquarters. We both worked for DuPont, both engineers. DuPont's headquarters, we were like, yeah, we don't want to live in Delaware. 2 years and we're out of there. Maybe an international assignment. Well, that was 34 years ago. And as I said, our kids were born and raised and are from Delaware. So I guess we're staying. But Delaware has really grown on us all over the years. Many of our friends from New Orleans ended up here because it is DuPont headquarters. And so, yeah, lots of our friends were here. We made new friends, obviously. Delaware is also just beautiful in terms of the natural beauty, with lots of forests and streams and lakes and ponds and very close to the beach. So yeah, we like it here. Question 5. Debbie also asked, if money were no object, what would you change in your day-to-day experience? So Debbie, this was a really thought-provoking question. Thank you. I had to think about this one for a while. A lot of our money does go to medical expenses. So yeah, this was an interesting exercise to think about. And I think the first thing I would want is a house on the water, somewhere where I could always experience that peaceful calming that comes from being close to the water, just like I love to camp near the water. So yeah, I think that would be the first thing. We do often rent Airbnbs when we're not traveling with our camper. We'll rent an Airbnb. We always try to get waterfront, and it's such a wonderful experience. So I think that would be the first thing I would do. Also, of course, travel more. I'm kind of limited because of my chronic illness. We would love to like visit Europe, see some more of the world, but it's really tough for me. Road trips are great because I can bring everything I need with me. Yeah. So, if we had the money, we could do some slower trips overseas, trips where we're not rushed because I can't do that much each day. So, yeah, that's probably it. Thank you for such a creative and thought-provoking question. Question 6 is from Linda. What is the most difficult thing about maintaining a book blog? So I've had my book blog for 18 years now. It's really hard for me to believe. But I have also had a chronic illness blog for 18 years. I started them both at the same time. So I would say the biggest challenges are, just like with YouTube, time. Finding the time to write posts, to interact with other people in the comments, to visit other people's blogs. All of that takes time. And now that I'm also on YouTube, it's a real juggling act. It's a huge challenge for me. And also, after 18 years, just keeping things fresh. There are definitely some new and fun things I'd like to do with both blogs, but it's hard to find the time.